The public auditor's prosecutor has asked Governor Fitzgerald to extradite former Attorney General, now fugitive, Ed Buckingham, to the CNMI to stand trial. And although Attorney General J.P. Nicholas has recused himself and his office, an assistant AG is now reviewing that extradition request for the governor. Last month, Nicholas appointed OPA attorney George Hasselback to serve as special prosecutor for the purposes of determining whether Buckingham's extradition should be recommended to the governor. In an interview at the time, Nicholas explained why.
A couple of things that I had to look at was whether or not the representation of Mr. Buckingham by an attorney in our office, whether that was a conflict. Also, I had to consider the fact that one of the charges against him allegedly occurred up at the airport, which is governed by our CPA board. I was a staff attorney at the time, August 4 or August 5th. I thought about it, and I decided that it would be a conflict.
Buckingham departed the CNMI last August, hours after OPA filed criminal charges against him. The attorney who appeared for Buckingham at his arraignment was Civil Division Chief Gil Burnbrick, until Judge David Wiseman found that the AG's office had no legal authority to represent a criminal defendant. Nicholas told KSPN that by recusing himself and his office from the matter of extradition, he also wished to preserve the integrity of OPA's case.
I was concerned that by pursuing this extradition matter as Attorney General, or asking one of my assistant AGs to pursue it, that it could jeopardize the ongoing prosecution of Mr. Buckingham.
But as it turns out, an assistant AG is involved in extradition after all. Civil Division Attorney Jim Stump, who also serves as the governor's legal counsel, is now reviewing OPA's extradition request. Stump was previously involved in the review of a sole-sourced $190 million power purchase agreement that was signed by Fitzgerald and Buckingham. The signing of that PPA is now the subject of one of Buckingham's criminal charges of misconduct in public office. Earlier this month, Stump sent Hasselback a letter raising a number of concerns about the extradition request. These ranged from OPA's legal authority to prosecute to whether Hasselback had a personal hostility towards Buckingham and whether he had pursued non-trial disposition. Hasselback responded to each of Stump's concerns on January 10th, and the extradition request has been sitting on the governor's desk since then. In a phone interview, Stump says he doesn't believe he has a conflict of interest in reviewing the extradition request for the governor. As assistant AG, he says he works primarily on tax matters. The extradition request, he notes, is not a tax matter, and although the AG has recused the office from involvement in Buckingham's extradition, Stump says he's performing his analysis in his capacity as the governor's legal counsel. Attorney General J.P. Nicholas was not available for an interview today, and Hasselback declined to say much on Stump's review of the extradition request.
The last thing I said in my initial request for extradition, request for a signature on an extradition warrant to the governor, I said that if the governor had any questions or concerns, he was free to contact me at any time. I received some concerns. I attempted to address them, and I think that is being made part of the decision-making process.
Hasselback says he hasn't raised concerns with the Attorney General about why an assistant AG is now reviewing the extradition request, despite the office's recusal. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I mean, again, this is a decision that the governor has to make. I don't know, again, anything that I would say about the governor's decision-making process would be purely conjecture, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
In an interview in December, however, days before Nicholas announced his office's recusal, Hasselback said this on the subject of attorney conflict.
If you represent someone in a particular matter, you're then prohibited from representing somebody that is adverse to that person in that particular matter. I mean, that's the most clear-cut form of conflict that attorneys learn about in law school. Generally speaking, matters of conflict are imputed to offices. So, using a hypothetical example, if you work for a law firm or an office, and one lawyer in that office represents someone, unless certain steps are taken to, the term is wall off, the emerging term is firewall. Unless steps are taken to firewall off other members of that office, the conflict is imputed to all members of the office.